NFL exec and current NFL Network analyst Marc Ross joining me now to discuss all things Bears. Marc, the dust is settling a bit as Matt Eberflus and the Bears have officially parted ways. It's the first midseason firing of a head coach for the franchise. Marc, let's start here. So Matt Eberflus does his Zoom presser yesterday at 9 a.m. 2 hours later, he was fired as the Bears head coach. What do you make of how the Bears and Eberflus parted ways, first off?
Yeah, definitely. That's been the good and the bad. Well, first it was, well, the Bears finally fired somebody and they're doing things differently. But then to have him do that press conference and then fire him after that was the part of it that just didn't make sense to anyone, and I hadn't seen before. Usually once you're going to fire somebody, like, look, as soon as you walk in that door that morning, you're going to the owner's office or the GM, and you're getting let go. They don't send you out there one last time to die on your sword, but they did that. But now it's a new chapter and time to see what they've got next.
For someone who has worked in NFL front offices, can you just shine some light on what was going on behind the scenes? Because it certainly doesn't make the organization look very good.
Well, yeah, that's what you don't know. You don't know who's making those decisions. A lot of organizations, the better run organizations, you kind of have a plan and you know who's making those decisions. And there's the hierarchy of, okay, this is the person, and then everyone falls in line from there. So, whoever's decision that was for it to go down like that, the onus is really on them. But, this should have been something that has been talked about for a while, because this is not as if, losing that game the other day was like, oh my goodness, we got to get rid of this guy now. This has been something that's pretty much been a topic for a while now, for weeks now. So that plan should have been a little bit more seamless and foolproof than the way it went down, because this wasn't a surprise. And the ownership, Ryan Poles staying, and probably he had his own discussions with ownership whether he was going to be around or not. So that's something that really the higher ups have to really discuss and talk about. And those key decision makers, Kevin Warren is there as well now, so his input as well. Those key decision makers are really the ones that have to be discussing all this for weeks and coming with a good plan.
Is Matt Eberflus someone that they should have let go before the season started? Because Chicago is now in a position where, hey, Caleb Williams is the Bears' third straight first-round QB to play under a different head coach in his second season.
Yeah, that really has been that theme. And when you see that chart and that pops up with, each one of those quarterbacks that they've had, Trubisky, Fields, and now Caleb, that they've all been through the same thing. And that's really just unheard of. So, yeah, you think at that time, you really want to have everybody moving forward at the same time and on the same page. Sort of really your GM, your head coach, and your quarterback, they're really going on the same time frame, and you don't want to piece things together. But now here they are again, and that really is lack of the identifying that talent there with Eberflus. Whether that was Ryan Poles' decision, whether that was George McCaskey's decision to say let's keep him around and have faith that he is the right guy. Well, obviously that did not play out. And now you're starting over again. And you don't want that to happen with a Caleb Williams, especially what has happened the past two quarterbacks that they took in the first round. So, yeah, probably in retrospect, that was the time to say, let's bring a head coach in here. And maybe they did try. Maybe they thought about it, but they didn't feel comfortable with they could maybe even get that right person for Caleb. And maybe they really did have faith that Eberflus was the right guy. Now they have to start over already, and that really stunting Caleb Williams in that first year of his development.
So Eberflus is now gone, but some have, you mentioned Ryan Poles, some have also criticized Ryan Poles. Do you think that he put Eberflus in a position to succeed going into this season with all the roster changes that he made?
Well, and that's the thing where, as I mentioned, you kind of want everybody to be on the same page. So now here we are again with Ryan Poles is going to make another decision for a head coach. And really what you have to be asking if you're Bears fans is he the right guy to do it? Because he's the one that hired Eberflus. Now, how much it was him, how much was the owner? And those are the things, like, who do we trust? And then when you look at the Bears roster, I just think, throughout these, the time he's been the GM, with the draft picks and the free agent signings, you really just have to look at the roster and say, is this a good roster at this point? And do we have enough to compete with the Detroits and Green Bays and now the Minnesotas in our own division? When you stack the Bears up against them, you say, how do we look compared to those three teams? And when I look at the Bears, it's just they're just not on the same level as them. Then you bring in the coaching issues, the failures of the coaching and the lack of development for Caleb. But when a team is at this point and people are getting fired, there's really a lot of people that bear the responsibility for that. But something with Ryan, with the ownership, that they said, what, you are our guy. We are gonna move forward with you to make these decisions. As Kevin Warren's made that decision as well for Ryan, whoever that is, they have trust and confidence in Ryan Poles. So now you have to say, okay, can he do it this time? He didn't get it right the first time. Hasn't gotten a whole lot right with a whole lot of with a lot of personnel decisions so far. Can he do it going forward?
Okay. Want to talk to you about Thomas Brown. He was named the interim head coach. Listen, on November 12th, he went from being the passing game coordinator, not having a ton of interaction with Caleb Williams, to being promoted to offensive coordinator. Now he's the interim head coach. Give us some insights as to what his world is like right now.
I mean, it's got to be spinning for him. But last year, even with the Panthers, he was a guy that was really on the hot list of up and coming coaches who have a chance to be head coaches. And of course, it all went wrong last year with the Panthers. Unfortunately for this guy, he's been in 2 straight years of situations taking the first pick in the draft, and things have not gone well for the teams. Well, here it is with another chance for him to at least show. I don't think he's really auditioning to be the Bears head coach. I don't think that would really be the right thing to do. I think he's an outstanding coach. I like him personally, but for him, it's just really to show, okay, what can I do? How can I galvanize this team? And that's a meteoric rise from where he was just a few weeks ago to right now. But he's the type of guy. I scouted him as a player, so that's just was the type of guy he was as a player. Overachiever, go get after it. And I think that's the same thing you'll see from him down the stretch as a head coach.
So let me just make sure I'm hearing this right. You don't think that he is auditioning for the head coaching job moving forward?
I think, if they go on a run, sure,
Okay.
he'd have to be in consideration. But in the bigger picture for it, I think they would need a whole entire fresh start. Again, I don't know if that would really be the right thing to do. I don't think they can go on a run, first of all, but maybe they can. But I don't know the success rate of, okay, a guy that's coming from this position to this position so fast, and then you win a couple games. Just Antonio, you were in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
We saw the Antonio Pierce situation. Love Antonio, was the captain on our 2007 Giants Super Bowl team. That goodwill that happened at the end there. Okay, well, now you have to go through a whole season, an off season of being the head coach, and we've got all these other issues, and that's when the things that really come to light. If you're that guy, and we've seen what's happened to the Raiders this year. You're out of there, Tina, so you're good to go. But now you're into a whole nother situation. But yeah, I think it's more comparable to that, where you know what, we've got our brain trust in here. Let's get somebody from the outside to come in here and really get this right.
So what candidates are at the top of your list? Who would you like to see be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears?
Well, not me, but I'm sure Bears fans would love the guy. We mentioned the division, and that guy, Ben Johnson, that's just right down there. And of course, he's the hot guy, but and as he should be, because when you look at that offense that Detroit runs and what they're able to do, and with a Jared Goff who is not nearly as gifted as a Caleb Williams, and you have to look and see how he's able to just get that offense humming with the pieces that they have there, and a guy like Jared Goff, who's really just a pocket passer, the way he creates offense with him. And for Bears fans, let's get this guy in here to work his magic with this dude, Caleb Williams, who we've seen the flashes. It's not, we've seen the highest of the high and the reasons why he was taken with the first pick. I'm a big believer in Caleb Williams. So I think that dream scenario would be to get Ben Johnson in there in Chicago, and to get Caleb playing at a Pro Bowl level and get the whole entire offense. Just that the way that Detroit, it's crazy you're saying this now, but that Detroit organization, the way they really have built it over the last few years, that's kind of the model that you could look for Chicago, getting a Ben Johnson type in there.
All right. Let's talk about something good real quick, because Caleb Williams has been the positive so far, especially during this losing streak. But what kind of growth have you seen from him? How do you evaluate his rookie season so far?
Yeah, he started out slow, and the Bears were winning. It's crazy. They were winning early without him. The defense was doing well, special teams breaks were going their way, and then they hit that stretch where it looked like, oh man, he's the real deal. You know, he had a couple games in there where they were really humming completely. Then they had the fall off again, and you know that Washington game happened, and things just started going bad for him. You know, but you've seen it come back. You've seen him bounce back to show the flashes, you know, and with those young guys, a guy like him with so much talent, it's about the consistency. It's not just about the flashes here and there. It's about how consistently can I play well. And I think that will come for him, you know, with more
Mhm.
stability around him, a little bit better offensive line or a lot better offensive line. You know, get his playmakers playing at a higher level. Might probably have some different ones next year, but you know, for him, it's about that consistency of showing his specialness, and he'll get there. I think he will get there with a whole new, a more stable group, better offensive coordinator. You know, better things that make it easier on him, so he doesn't have to be the hero all the time. You know, I think that is in the future for Caleb Williams. And Bears fans should be hopeful that that will happen. Now you just got to get the rest of it right.
Marc, before I let you go, so you actually interviewed for the GM job here with the Chicago Bears back in 2012. What did you learn about the organization throughout your interviewing process?
Yeah, it was after with the Giants coming off our second Super Bowl, and you know Lovey was still the coach there, and you know unfortunately I didn't get it. They gave it to Phil Emery. Whether that was the right decision or wrong, we don't know. But you know a lot of changes since then, and you know at that time I think George McCaskey kind of was really just taking over.
Yep.
You know at that time maybe a year in, and you know it was a lot of moving parts. Let's just say when I interviewed there, and you know, thankful for my experience. Always thankful for any interview, GM job, interview that I've had. But it's been a lot of changes for them since. Let's just say.
Absolutely. Well, Marc Ross, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate all your insights.
My pleasure.